Hi everybody, my name's King Newsme. One of the most suggested shows I get asked to talk about is Tales from the Crypt. And I've wanted to talk about it for a while now. Usually I can find whatever show I'm going to talk about on some streaming service out there, but due to some issues with the rights, like HBO owning this specific Crypt Keeper, and then another group owning the stories that are in the episodes, as well as some of the original filmed episodes being lost and destroyed, they haven't put Tales on the Crypt on any streaming service at all. So I could watch it on YouTube at 480p, or spend $80 on the full series box set. So I got the box set. This is probably the most dedication I've put into making a series for you guys. Tales from the Crypt is an anthology horror series created by William Gaines and Stephen Dodd that aired on HBO with 7 seasons and 96 episodes from 1989 to 1996. It was a very popular show at the time, and because of that, there are 5 movies attached to the show, as well as a cartoon called Tales from the Crypt Keeper, and a Saturday morning game show called Secrets of the Crypt Keeper's Haunted House. That might have to be a video really soon. The show's host is a corpse-like comedian called the Crypt Keeper, and he is voiced by the famous John Kassir. The Crypt Keeper introduces us to each episode with witty puns and his insane laugh. Each segment is based on horror comics from the publishing company EC. That includes miniseries like Tales from the Crypt, of course, Vault of Horror, Haunt of Fear, Crime Suspense Stories, Two-Fisted Tales, and Shock Suspense Stories. Because of this, the show has a nice spread of monsters and horror, as well as some mystery and crime episodes. Very gruesome crimes, but still crimes. And because the show was on HBO, it didn't have to be censored like all the other shows at the time. So it was allowed to show all the glorious gore and nudity that you freaks love to see. And even though the show is pretty hard to find nowadays, it still has a very loyal audience that believes it is the best anthology horror show ever made. And they might be right. Also, the intro to the show was made by Danny Elfman, so you know it absolutely slaps. Today we're going to take a look at the popular episode Television Terror. It's one of the top rated and fan favorite episodes of the series, and it's also one of the more supernatural episodes, which you don't see very often in the series. It's the 16th episode of the 2nd season, and because it follows a shock journalist and his cameraman as they investigate a haunted house, the episode is partially found footage-esque, and it was made before Blair Witch made found footage movies mainstream, so you can kind of say it was ahead of its time. Kinda. It's based off of a comic with the same name in the 17th issue of the Haunt of Fear magazine. The comic was made in the 1950s, so the segment and comic are pretty different. Almost nothing alike, actually, but I can talk about it after we break down the episode. But before we do get into the episode, this show is a little graphic, and YouTube doesn't like that. So if you want to see an uncensored version of this video, you'll have to go to my Patreon or YouTube members to see it. So let's quit yapping and get into the episode. The episode starts with our favorite little Crypt Keeper.
Hi, Mom.
Me? Bro, this is our first video together. You can't start calling me mommy yet. Fun fact, there is an episode about the Crypt Keeper's parents called Lower Birth. It's kind of an awesome episode. You actually get to see a little baby version of him at the end. Let me know if you want to talk about that episode in a video or something. He introduces us to the segment by telling us, today's twisted tale, My Couch Potatoes, is filed under T for television.
Or should that be terror? So stay tuned to this totally titillating tube.
Then we fade into the comic and to a spooky haunted house. Next we meet our asshole of a host, Horton Rivers. Outside of the spooky house, he does a very long-winded introduction for his live TV segment, where he talks about a woman named Ada Ritter. She inherited her family's boarding house, where she would kill her elderly tenants and steal their social security checks. She has a confirmed 12 kills under her belt, but there could be more. Fun fact, Ada Ritter is based off of a real serial killer named Dorothy Puente. She did exactly what Ada does in this episode, but instead of it being in LA, she did it in Sacramento. And unlike Dorothy, who was arrested, Ada committed suicide, which triggered an investigation throughout the house. 5 years later, and now there are rumors that the house is haunted, with people saying they've seen ghosts, weird lights, and heard noises coming from the house. And tonight, Horton will go into the house live on TV to see if the rumors are true. And as he tells the story of Ada Ritter, we get to meet more of the crew. But the only important one you need to know is this lady named Sam. When they cut to commercial, we learn that Sam is Horton's producer, and they have a conversation where we quickly learn how shitty of a guy Horton really is. He's about to have a short interview with this guy, and this is how he asks for his name.
Who is that clown?
Buddy, you're the one that just spent 3 minutes explaining a story that I explained in 1. And I added more context on top of it. She then gives Horton some colorful ideas for next week's show.
Okay, you got a choice next week. You got the Satanists, you've got the impotent transvestites, soldiers of fortune, a neo-Nazi black group. And the culture show for Thursday is breast implants.
Bingo.
Yeah, this guy's definitely a shock reporter if I've ever seen one. He also has a laugh about interviewing a couple that claim they've seen Jim Morrison in Paris having dinner with Marilyn Monroe. He obviously targets the very gullible people in the world. But Sam is concerned that maybe he's getting a bit over his head with these ideas, and that people are going to stop believing what he's doing.
They'll believe what I tell them to believe.
Sam obviously doesn't like Horton, and this whole time she's been giving him pushback and sass on his ideas. So he decides to give her some advice. He tells her that she will never make it in show business if she doesn't use her killer instinct.
Just because you're sleeping with me doesn't give you a free ride in this job.
What? I know some people like sleep their way to the top, but him? Ew! And his little comment made Sam furious, but all she can do right now is talk shit behind his back as he goes live on TV. Horton starts his interview with this guy named Roland, who's a psychic. Horton asks a very simple question. Is the house haunted? And Roland says,
it's a pit of seething evil.
And that no one could pay him any money to enter that building. And he warns Horton to not go inside either. Of course he's gonna go inside. He has a show to film. But he's not going in alone. He's taking his trusty old camera guy, Trip. And then he does another one of his long-winded speeches outside of the house, where my guy Booth here says what I've been thinking this whole time.
Go! God damn it, get inside!
And it seems like no one in his crew likes him. Even Trip. And he seems like a cool dude. They enter the pitch black house and Trip says,
Feel like I'm fucking lost in space, man.
Here he references a show called Lost in Space, which is a pretty old show from the 60s about a man who is lost in space. It's kind of self-explanatory. Trip and Horton do a small tour throughout the house, with Horton trying to keep it interesting. He makes up stories along the way about Ada and her family and what they would do throughout the house, starting with the kitchen, where they're not alone. But it's just rats, which I think Trip is scared of because bro looks terrified right here. As they explore the house, Horton slides open the door to another room, and in a quick flashback, we witness one of Ada's murders. Next, we move on to the basement where the police discovered all the bodies. And once again, we see a flashback of Ada shoving a different guy down the stairs into a pile of dead bodies. And if you look carefully, you can see the stunt double who looks nothing like the old man she just pushed down the stairs. They walk down into the basement where Horton hams up the story of Ada a little bit and shows off the hole she would shove the dead bodies in to hide them. And then they cut to commercial where you can see a glimpse of a Snuggle Bear laundry detergent commercial. I thought it would be like an Easter egg to another episode, but it was kind of easy to find because I just looked up teddy bear baby sleeping commercial and it was the first one that showed up. Man, the internet's a crazy place sometimes. Anyways, Horton asks if things are going good outside with the audience and them, and they seem pretty enthusiastic.
Yeah, we got it, Horton.
And as the two head upstairs for the rest of the show, Horton tries to be smug and say that he knows it's a good show because he is the host. But viewership is dropping. It's a little too slow and he's building up too much tension for nothing to be happening.
Hey, the show's dragging. They're afraid it's gonna be another Al Capone's vault.
Al Capone's vault, that's pretty funny. She says this because there was a super hyped up live event in 1986 where they opened up Al Capone's vault and all it had in it was dirt and empty bottles. It was pretty much a big letdown. Basically, she's saying that this segment is a waste of time, unless he does something to spice it up. And oh buddy, do things get spicy. Not like that. Horton takes great offense that the studio thinks his segment is boring, and he talks about all these dangerous trips he's been to alone with Trip, which Trip doesn't like being forgotten. But the only thing he can do right now is something interesting. Please, Horton, my viewership is dropping too. As Horton is trying to think of a way to spice up the segment, they hear moaning coming from upstairs. They quickly make their way up with nothing but the camera flashlight guiding their way. And when they get upstairs, suddenly Trip's camera stops working. And with 20 seconds left in commercials and Horton yelling at him to fix the issue, Trip tries his best to fix the camera. And while Trip does that, Sam hears something dripping through Horton's mic. She says it's strange because the water's been off in this house for years, so there should be nothing dripping in the house. It should be bone dry. And of course she sends Horton to go check it out. Horton follows the noise to a nearby bathroom, and when he opens the door, he sees an old man swimming in a pool of blood with his throat slit open. Panicked, he gets Trip to come over and see it, but when he gets there, the man is gone.
Trip, did you see any of that?
No, man, I didn't.
Suddenly, a door starts opening and slamming shut over and over again, and another following suit. Miraculously, Trip's camera starts working, and they're able to catch a few things like the chandelier spinning and falling out of the ceiling, and paintings randomly exploding and falling off the walls, as well as this door being beaten down as blood pours out of all the cracks. Then in an instant, everything goes silent. Sam tells Horton to quickly get on camera, but bro is scared. It looks like he's seen a ghost or something. Oh yeah, right. Love him or hate him, Horton does understand that the show must go on, and he gets on camera to ask Roland a few more questions. The first being, what the hell is going on around him? Roland says that they've witnessed a psychic impression and then some poltergeist activity, which isn't uncommon in the ghost hunting world. Apparently, according to him. Roland says the psychic impression is kind of like a recording of what happened inside that house that keeps playing every night, over and over again. And Horton just saw one of those events. And everyone knows what poltergeist activity is. I don't have to explain that one. Then Horton asks,
Are we in any danger?
and I don't think he's gonna like the answer.
You were in danger the moment you crawled to the threshold.
Suddenly, the door behind Horton swings open and someone inside says, "Help me." Horton investigates the room, and whatever he sees freaks him out. He calls back to Booth and Sam and tells them to call the police because someone is in the house with them. But just as he says that, Sam gets another call from the network. The people are loving it. Viewership is through the roof and the phones are ringing off the walls. And even though the network is loving it and wanting Horton to continue, I don't think Horton can take it much longer. He finds blood on a rug in the room, and then he follows it to where it ends. He asks Tripp to get a close-up, but somehow Tripp is dead, hanging from the ceiling with a bash in his head. Oh, I liked Tripp. What the hell, man? But wait, if Tripp is dead, then who's holding the camera? One of the many victims of Ada Ritter killed Tripp, and Horton is next. He tries to quickly escape, but he's only met with more of the angry spirits. Now Horton is in full panic mode, begging for anyone to come in and help him. But viewership is up, and ratings are through the roof, so it's up to Sam to decide if she wants to go in there and help him or not. So she makes a brave decision and tells everyone,
Keep him in there.
with a crazed look in her eyes as he begs for help through the mic. Luckily, Horton escapes the angry spirits, and it seems like he's safe. For a second, but he really stepped into Ada Ritter's old room. And she's still bloodthirsty. She chases him with a chainsaw all throughout her room, almost killing him multiple times. And as he runs for his life, Sam tells him that he has to stay in there for as long as he can because the ratings are just way too high.
Gotta have that killer instinct, right?
Sadly, Horton gets pinned against the wall and Ada rips him open with the chainsaw and he falls out of the window with the curtain rope wrapped around his neck. And the show gets a long close-up of Horton's lifeless body dangling from the roof as Sam realizes it wasn't an act. It was very real. Yeah, she thought he was just hamming it up for the TV. That's not the case. Then we fade back to our favorite little guy and he has the dogs out. Damn, put them puppies away! He has a nice little chuckle at dead Horton and he throws out a few admittedly pretty funny hanging jokes. And he says,
No wonder he's such a hit on live. Or is it dead TV?
and that's where the episode ends. So I've only seen like the first 2 seasons of the show so far, but this is already one of my favorites in the series. It's not as flashy compared to some of the others, and it doesn't have this like big monster or anything in it, but it definitely has one of the better stories. And despite the beginning being pretty slow, it's still very entertaining. Granted, they keep us entertained by showing us Ada's kills here and there, but still, this episode does a really good job at tension building. You know something is going to happen or pop out at any moment, and when you think it's going to happen, it doesn't. So throughout the whole episode while they're inside the house, you're just very tense the whole time. Literally nothing happens to Horton or Tripp until there's maybe 5 minutes left in the episode, and then everything happens. And I think the story at the beginning of the episode really helped with the tension throughout the episode, and that paired with the quick flashback of Ada's murders. It's like we as an audience are seeing the psychic impressions that Roland talked about. And it was also there to spice up the episode a little bit because following Horton around as he makes up lies isn't really that entertaining. But telling a story like that at the very beginning of an episode really keeps things spooky and stuff, so I'm glad they did that. Also, fun fact about that final scene, it was a real chainsaw. She was really chasing him with a chainsaw, which is insanely dangerous, but I like the dedication. I also love how the episode is actually pretty scary at times, but also very goofy a lot of the time. There are some actually horrifying things that appear in this episode, but then the camera will just turn to Tripp and he will have this terrified look on his face, like a cartoonishly terrified look. It's awesome. It always makes me chuckle. It's so funny. Also, Horton's character is just over the top in every way, on and off camera. So much so that when he is literally dying, people think it's an act, which I think is karma on his part. I mean, everyone hates the guy, so there must be a reason. He's probably screwed over so many people to get this position on the top. He also makes fun of everyone he's around, so I'm not saying he deserved a gruesome death, But okay, so I mentioned at the beginning of the video that this episode is based off of a comic with the same name. It was written and drawn by a man named Harvey Kurtzman in the 17th issue of the Haunt of Fear magazine. The story starts with a family gathering around a TV for the Al Hunt show. And it's kind of cool because in the comic panels turn to a rounded square with like big dark edges, almost like you're watching a TV show with the family. It's very creative, I like it. Al and Horton are very similar in being over-the-top TV personalities, but we don't get to see much of Al off camera, so he just seems like a genuine guy. Maybe his laugh is a little annoying, but you know. He interviews a psychic named John Poltergeist about the house. John Poltergeist? Might as well have named him Henry Ghostseer or something. Like what? Harvey Demon. Hey. John tells a story about a man named Mr. Creedmoor and his young wife. She was very young and only married him for his money. And because of the age gap, they didn't really get along. One day, someone discovered that Mr. Creedmoor had hanged himself upstairs. It looked like a suicide, but many people believe his wife and her secret lover murdered him for all his money. But just 1 month after the two of them got married, they were found hanging from the same spot that Mr. Creedmoor was hanging from. And 60 years later, people now know for a fact that the mansion is haunted. But Al doesn't believe that. So to prove it's haunted, Al and John use a really old camera with a very long cord to go inside the house. Jesus, that cord has to be like 5,000 feet long. Inside, Al talks about how eerie and cold the house is, and John says he senses a presence upstairs. So John heads upstairs to investigate while Al shows the audience around the house and a painting of Miss Creedmoor, whose eyes seem to follow him around. While he's doing that, Al hears a ruckus upstairs and heads up to join John. But when he opens the door, he sees something horrifying. Nevertheless, he proceeds into the room where he sees Mr. Creedmoor, his wife, and her lover standing there, and they hypnotize him to hang himself. Quickly, the camera cuts away from his hanging body and the program ends. Yeah, it's a super short comic. It's only 8 pages long, so we don't really get to spend a lot of time with the characters and get to know them. And there's also a noticeably less blood in the comic compared to the episode. Like, there's no blood in the comic at all, but they still hung the main character at the end, so at least they have that in common. But yeah, the comic is pretty underwhelming compared to the episode. I was honestly shocked at how different they are and how much better the episode is than the comic. Usually it's kind of vice versa, you know? But I appreciate that they decided to take a short little comic and make something iconic out of it. But let me know what you think about the comic and the episode in the comments below. I have a Patreon. The $5 members get bonus content plus videos a day early, maybe some pictures of my cats, a Discord server, and your name right here on screen. And YouTube members are lumped in with them as well. Like the video if you like the video. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. I appreciate you all, and peace.